This question comes from Rachel, who asks, what would happen if the sun rose in the north and set in the east? So the sun's path is rotated 90 degrees. Instead of rising in the east and setting in the west, it now rises in the north and sets in the east. Let's figure out what catastrophic event caused this. There are really only two ways this could happen. Either Earth's axis tilted 90 degrees sideways, or Earth suddenly started rotating in a completely different direction. Both options are apocalyptic, but let's explore them anyway. First scenario, Earth's rotational axis tips over. Right now, Earth's axis is tilted only 3.5 degrees. This gives us seasons. If the axis suddenly flipped 90 degrees, the North Pole would point directly at the sun for half the year, then the South Pole would point at it for the other half. The equator, currently the warmest part of Earth, would be in permanent twilight. The sun would skim along the horizon, never rising high. Temperatures would plummet. A 2014 climate study found that equatorial regions would drop to an average of negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. The Amazon rainforest would freeze solid within weeks. Meanwhile, the Arctic would experience 6 months of continuous daylight. Temperatures of the North Pole would soar to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. All Arctic ice would melt. Greenland's ice sheet containing enough water to raise sea levels 24 feet would disappear in months. But here's the physics problem. Earth's axis can't just flip. The rotational inertia of a planet spinning is enormous. To change Earth's axis requires an impact from something roughly moon-sized. That collision would liquefy the crust, vaporize the oceans, and sterilize all life. So let's try the second option. Earth reverses its rotation direction. Currently, Earth spins west to east, which is why the sun rises in the east. To make the sun rise in the north, Earth would need to rotate. Actually, this gets complicated. A planetary physicist I contacted worked out the math. There's no rotation direction that makes the sun rise in the north and set in the east. The geometry doesn't work. The sun's path is always perpendicular to your rotation axis. The only way to get north to east is if Earth's rotation axis pointed horizontally instead of vertically, which brings us back to the axis flip scenario we already covered. But let's pretend Earth's rotation just reversed, east to west instead of west to east. Now the sun rises in the west and sets in the east. For this to happen, Earth's rotation would need to stop, then start spinning the opposite direction. The stopping part alone would be catastrophic. Everything on Earth's surface is moving at 1,000 miles per hour due to rotation. If Earth stopped, everything not bolted down would keep moving at 1,000 miles per hour. The atmosphere would continue eastward as a 1,000 mile per hour wind. Oceans would slosh over continents. Buildings would shear off their foundations. A geophysicist calculated that the kinetic energy release would be equivalent to detonating every nuclear weapon on Earth simultaneously several thousand times over. Okay, what if this happened gradually, like really gradually? Venus actually rotates backwards compared to Earth. It spins east to west, so the sun rises in the west on Venus. But Venus's rotation is incredibly slow. One Venusian day lasts 243 Earth days. If Earth matched Venus's rotation, our days would be 8 months long. 4 months of continuous daylight, 4 months of night. Daytime temperatures would exceed 150 degrees Fahrenheit as the sun baked one side continuously. Nighttime temperatures would drop below negative 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature difference would create hurricane-force winds circling the planet permanently. Every ecosystem on Earth depends on a 24-hour day-night cycle. Plants use it for photosynthesis timing. Animals use it for sleep cycles. Humans have circadian rhythms locked to 24 hours. An 8-month day would destroy all of that. So what would happen if the sun rose in the north and set in the east? The physics required to make this happen would either involve a planet-killing asteroid impact or Earth's rotation stopping with enough energy release to sterilize the surface. And even if you could magically rotate Earth differently without the cataclysmic energy release, you'd end up with half-year-long days that turn Earth into an uninhabitable hellscape of temperature extremes. The sun rising in the east and setting in the west isn't just tradition. It's the only configuration where complex life survives.